All right, guys. So, I wanted to make a video to data log this vehicle, just to show you guys how exactly to data log, right? We get questions all the time in regards to, hey man, I have a laptop and everything. Sometimes the config file doesn't work or whatever the case may be. So it's a lot easier to just go ahead and validate all the PIDs, DMRs, and what have you for your own particular vehicle so that you can go ahead and data log it that way. So the first step is to go ahead and already have SCT device updater and LiveLink Gen 2 set up already, just like what we have here. Now you can go to where it says I want to data log the vehicle and follow this instructions, and that's, you know, basically what we're going to go ahead and do here. Now we have the Coyote swap new edge. So the OBD2 port is right over here on this side. Right, we have the SCT device hooked up. We're tuning this car with HP tuners, but this is a how-to on how to data log it with the SCT device. So we're going to use this for a bit. All right, so we got it over here. We got the SCT, and we have the included cable running over here to the computer. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go to where it says I want to data log a vehicle. Now, the computer needs to recognize the SCT device. Sometimes not the strategy, it really depends. But, you know, because this is a Coyote swap, I don't think it's going to have a strategy, at least I don't think. So let's go ahead and take a look, see what we got. So let's turn the key to the on position. You're going to hear the pumps, you know, because it's a return style system. So let's go to, I want to data log vehicle. It'll start saying to plug it in, which we already did. So let's go ahead and click next, 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 which we already did. Check communication. All right, there you go. So you see the strategy is empty. That's fine, as long as it can recognize the device, the firmware, serial number, and the communication type. That's gonna be fine. So let's go to where it says vehicle info. All right, perfect. Now here we're gonna select validate all items. All right, that way it can read all the PIDs, DMRs, OBD2, whatever is available for this particular PCM. So let's go ahead and go to select items, and it's gonna start loading everything. It's gonna start taking a read from it, right? So it might take a little bit. Now, this is one of the reasons why HP Tuners is a little bit faster in regards to this, because you can just right click and select whatever item you want, add a channel. But in here, it has to scan everything, and then from there, you get to choose what it is. It's a little bit different, but right now, we're going to go ahead and concentrate on SCT. All right, so let's see. Usually, there's a little bar here, but since there's nothing, let's go ahead and just wait. So this is a Coyote. For you SHO EcoBoost guys, it's going to be a little bit different, but I'll go ahead and explain exactly what you guys need to go ahead and add. Things like manifold absolute pressure, throttle inlet pressure, you know, desired throttle inlet pressure, wastegate duty cycle, stuff like that, right? Things that this car does not have, you know, because this isn't a speed density vehicle. This is a MAF-based vehicle, right? So let's go ahead and take a look, see here. So one of the things that I like to add here is intake air temp. Now, sometimes it'll read it off of Celsius, which you guys can see here that it is for Celsius. And the great thing about this is that there's a conversion, right? And we'll talk about that here in a sec, right? That way SCT makes it a little bit easier. So now we're scrolling down. All right, for everyone out there, you know, even the eco guys, let's go ahead and select LAMSI bank 1, bank 2, long-term bank 1, bank 2, measured AFR bank 1, bank 2. All right, let's go ahead and scroll down. Sorry, it's just a little bit hard to go ahead and view everything through the camera. All right, since this car's having an issue, actually, let me go ahead and stop the pumps because I don't want to kill the power. All right, since this car is having an issue, after a bit, it goes into closed loop fuel fault. So let's go ahead and select open loop status just to see how it is. All right, short-term fuel trends bank 1, bank 2. All right, we got that. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Fuel pump duty cycle. This is usually needed for these other vehicles like the 10 and below, some, you know, the GT 500, stuff like that. We don't need it for this particular vehicle because we have a return style fuel system, so we're not going to be worried about that, okay? So let's go ahead and scroll down. All right, this is a MAF-based vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and select MAF pound per min and MAF frequency. If this was a 2010 and below vehicle, we would select MAF volts or MAF at counts, right? But since it's not, it's going to be through frequency, all right? All right, we don't have a map sensor on this vehicle, so we're not going to be worrying about that. Battery voltage. All right, this is very important for some of you guys. The reason why battery voltage is because sometimes, especially on the older cars, where we log fuel pump duty cycle, fuel rail pressure, stuff like that, if you go one up and throttle and the vehicle starts leaning out, we take a look at your fuel pump duty cycle along with your voltage. And the reason behind that is because we've seen it, especially like on older cars like 2003. You go one up and throttle, the car starts to lean out, your fuel pump duty cycle climbs like crazy, and but your voltage is like 11 volts. It can't keep up with with the demand, or maybe the alternator is shot or something. I'm not sure, but it's one of the things that I like to data log here because it's good for diagnosing purposes. All right, so now we're gonna select load. Now OBD2, I'm not a fan of it, mainly because the rate in which it records it is very slow. So I really don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. So let's go ahead and select RPM as well. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Fucking hot as fuck, man. Shit. All right, torque source 2. Torque source, it'll let us know if, sometimes like if you launch pretty hard, it'll go into clutch protection, it'll go into traction control or shit like that. So it's good to always log that. Same thing with vehicle speed mile per hour. And the reason being is because while a lot of people say, why do you need mile per hour? Well, the reason behind it is because a lot of these vehicles are, actually most vehicles, the shift schedule is based off of mile per hour. So when a customer says, hey, my car, I think it's shifting a little too high or a little too low, or not shifting where it's supposed to be, we log the vehicle speed mile per hour to see if it's going to where we're commanding it. So say we're commanding, I don't know, something like 80 mile per hour for a 2-3 shift, right? This is just an example. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but let's go ahead and throw that in there. Say we're commanding on the 2-3 shift at wide open throttle, 80 miles an hour, and it shifts at, say 75 miles per hour. Okay, there's an issue. So we end up taking a look at torque source and stuff like that to see exactly why it's shifting in there, and then we got to troubleshoot from there. It's not as easy as a lot of folks make it out to be, but it's one of the reasons why we add so many things to the data log. All right, so we don't need anything for the O2 sensor. Misfire, I'd rather use an IDS for that. All right, so we don't need a NOx sensor. We definitely need that. This is a vehicle with NOx sensors. Other vehicles, they don't have them. Spark Advance and Spark Advance V2. We're going to data log these two so that we can show you the difference between one and the other. One of them has a better rate, whereas the other one kind of like averages out in flat lines. You know, it doesn't have the same rate as the other one. So we'll go ahead and data log that one. Okay, throttle. We're going to go with throttle angle actual. Desired. On the older vehicles, we like to go ahead and add throttle position relative because a lot of things are dependent on that. Kind of like load with fail math. It's based off of that. But if you can't find it, we'll go ahead and send over further instructions for that. This is a manual car, so we're not going to have anything with a transmission. Variable cam timing. Now, I like to data log both banks, but there are going to be cases where if you log both banks, you'll end up with an error. Sometimes one signal will not come up, or it errors out totally. So depending on how the vehicle is responding to it, you might only have to use one bank, but I would prefer both of them, especially with a car like this. With this new Edge Coyote swap, we put stage 3 camshafts in here, and I'd like to make sure that all 4 camshafts, they're in sync, and one of them is not over retarded or over advanced than the other, right? That's another way to configure, I mean, not configure, but to troubleshoot certain things. All right, so now we clicked on next, configure data log. Now we're here. Now you see this, we got all the items here that we need. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure shaky. You always got to do a shaky, man, because if you didn't do the shaky, man, you don't know if it's neutral. So let's go ahead and do a shaky. All right, badass. And then let's go ahead and fire this thing up. Let me get the keys. All right. Now, if you guys are going to do a startup, turn the key to the on position and start recording. This is the record button. All right. So wait until it records. This is if you're doing a startup log. All right. All right, now it's getting the data. All right, so let's fire it up. Shaky, one more time. Badass. Another shaky before letting off the clutch. All right. Now you're getting all this fucking weird ass graph shit, right? So if you want to clean it up a little bit, go ahead and select this button right here. There we go. So now it's only going to pick up whatever you select on this side. So let's go ahead and select RPM. Battery voltage 14.6, give or take. But I don't want to take a look at the voltage because we already verified that it's badass. What we're going to be taking a look at is going to be your fuel trims. Why the fuel trims? Because the majority of the tuning and everything is going to have to do with this, because fuel, if the injector data is correct and you're not 100% certain about the airflow data going to the quarter intake on a meth-based vehicle, then load is going to be incorrect, and a lot of other things that are dependent on load, such as spark, is going to be incorrect as well. So short-term fuel trims, you always want to see these around 5% or below, right? It's always going to vary up and down, give or take, but as long as it's within that range, it's going to be fine. If it's tighter, even better. So what happens, like say if your short-term fuel trims is like 1.17, that means that it's adding about 17% fuel, right? So over time, as the vehicle learns, and we tell this to a lot of people, let the vehicle relearn so that we can get actual data, actual stored data in there. So say this thing is running 1.17 consistently. What the long-term fuel trims are going to do is that it's going to pick up that correction of fuel, right? It's going to pick that up, and it's going to save it in here. And then the short-term fuel trims will come back to normal, to about 3 to 4%, give or take, whatever the case may be, right? So when we see values on the long-term fuel trims and the short terms are, you know, looking fine, we know that something's going on, that there's a huge correction in there. So we want to take a look at those types of things. All right, so now supposedly this car shuts off the O2 sensors after a certain amount of time. It looks fine right now. It looks okay. You know, fueling seems okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it up to about 1500 RPMs and then continue to climb. It's going to be an RPM sweep log, right? I'm going to start at at idle, then 1500 RPMs, then I'm going to sweep it slowly upwards so that we can see how fueling responds as we go to the RPM. Another thing to look into is the measured AFR bank 1 and 2. Those are your actual AFR readings going to the O2 sensor after the corrections. All right, so let's go to 1500 RPMs, and well, actually let's just go ahead and start climbing up slowly. Let it decel, let it idle, see if it catches itself. Okay, and it did catch itself, did it all right. You know, for having stage 3 camshafts and everything, it did all right. So let's go ahead and just stop the log here for now. And the way that you stop it is with this red button. All right, so we select that. Let's go ahead and turn this motherfucker off. All right, turn that motherfucker off. All right, badass. So now, when you guys need to save the file, you guys need to go to save right over here, and then select save all. Do not do save view, because the save view will only save this window, which doesn't have shit for data. All right, so let's go to save all. Badass. All right, and we're gonna call this one Ortiz Yote. We say Yote around here. Swap. Idle sweep. All right, we'll save it. Boom. And then that's the file that you guys are going to send us, right? That's going to be the shit that you guys send us so that we can go ahead and verify everything. Now, if you guys want to take a look at what's going on, all you got to do is just select max and go over here, and then you can see everything. You can see where we did the sweep. Now, remember how we mentioned about the intake air temperature being in Celsius? Okay, so it's right over here. So it's at 28 degrees. So what you guys can do is go to over here to tools, conversions, go to where it says Celsius. What was it? 28, I think. Oops. 28. And then you get your conversion right over here, 82 degrees. So that's the air intake temp. All right, guys. So just go ahead, save it in whatever folder that you guys have or want to save it in. If you guys want to do it in desktop, that's going to be easier for everyone, and just send it over. I did not get that closed loop fuel fault that Mark was talking about, but you know, that's the thing about data logging. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't, so we got to be persistent in it and, you know, keep doing our thing. Sometimes you guys say, hey, why the shit am I fucking data logging so fucking much? Well, sometimes it happens, sometimes we capture it, sometimes we don't. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, and but we do what we do in order to get you guys going. All right, Ortiz out. Well, actually not out yet. So data logging is pretty easy, man. It's very simple. The thing is that a lot of people stress about it because they're not very familiar with it. But you know, I'm hoping this video helps you guys out a lot, you know, in regards to data logging. If it doesn't, let me know what other things you guys want me to go ahead and do so that we can go ahead and get you guys going. The easier it is for you guys, the easier it is for us, so that we can go ahead and get the proper data that we need. Sometimes you guys send like 3 or 4 PIDs that we don't even need, right? So it just gives you an idea. If you guys have more suggestions or whatever, just shoot us a PM, an email, or hell, sometimes even call me. Sometimes I don't pick up the phone because we're working here in the new shop and shit. But I think like I said, just add your suggestions here on the comment box and we'll go from there. All right, Ortiz out.